Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Thank you for staying with us on Signature Morning. Now, recent UN data places Nigeria's life expectancy to at least 54.6 years. That's ranking among the lowest globally and worse than countries like South Sudan and Ukraine. Now, for a nation that is Africa's largest economy and most populous country, this raises serious questions about our governance, our healthcare, and a host of other issues in the country. And now we're going to be discussing that with Professor Emmanuel Abweze. He's an academician and is also a commentator on public issues. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
It's my pleasure indeed being here.
All right, so now looking at this data on Nigeria's life expectancy, officially lower now than war-torn nations. What does this say about the credibility of Nigeria's governance and development record before the international community?
I don't believe them. Those records are embedded with falsehood and politics. Many years ago, some people told us that we should stop allowing others to write our history, to tell our story. How on earth will we be talking about a country like Nigeria, which is the largest African economy and the 32nd largest economy in the world? We are beginning to equate it with countries like Ukraine, that is the 59th. In terms of performance and governance, let's put it this way. Looking at it from a layman's point of view, is there any way you can take a job in a war-torn area and live a peaceful setting? And even if you look at economic indices in the country as presented by the World Bank themselves, Ukraine own was on decline by 30%. When Nigeria own was recovering at 1.4. The one that is coming down and the one that is going up. And we're waiting the one coming down rather than the one that is going up. Speaking, saying different things from two sides of the mouth. It's not possible. It's all about playing politics with African countries and playing politics with Nigeria. It doesn't come anywhere close to reality. We know Ukraine, we know Nigeria, we know the difference. Even as we speak, we export more goods to Ukraine and the same to us. We also go back to the rudiments, what we call the foundation. What is the source or major source of Ukraine wealth? Ukraine relies heavily on manufacturing. They don't have solid minerals like we do. Neither do they have the diversified economy that we're also getting into. So where comes, there are two extremes. You can't even compare them. Any man, anybody, anywhere in the world that makes an effort to begin to compare Nigeria with Ukraine is not being fair to us. That's the truth of the matter.
All right. According to what Peter Obi said, he said living in this country is like waiting to die. According to what he said. So I want to understand, why is living in Nigeria like waiting to die? What is the problem? Why is Nigeria ranked among the lowest people that has the life expectancy?
Those things are extreme assertions that holds no water. That's the truth of the matter. I'm not saying that it's all about bed of roses, no. I don't say we don't have challenges, no. We do have challenges, just like any other country. But people should be interested on how to overcome the challenges that are human. You see, there is this concept of talking about the cup being half empty and the cup being half full. It's all about perception. In our case, it's like this, it's half full, not half empty. So that's a comment that I'm moving on. And obviously, we may have challenges, or we do have challenges, which is human. And also to describe living in Nigeria as living and waiting to die is also not expected to come from people of that standing. You can say we have to live, but try to overcome it, but don't say that to live in Nigeria is like, of course, we won't die. By our nature, by our creation, every person comes in and after some time steps out. So any person anywhere in the world lives to die. So if we say that living in Nigeria is like waiting to die, who in the world anywhere? Tell me somebody in the world anywhere in the Tikuribo language, they will tell you, there is no lineage, there is no life anywhere in the world that doesn't come and perish. In fact, life is meant to expire after a while. That is the nature of our creation. And Nigeria is not an exception. I think Kubi might just be saying that in Nigeria, people live, people die, which is like stating the obvious everywhere in the world. But not that people die in Nigeria and they don't die in US, or they don't die in Africa, or they don't die anywhere. It's not true. It's being unfair to the system. People should then have to be fair with our system, be positive minded, even while pointing out the shortfalls.
Right, Professor Abeze, these reports, right, this is not the first of this kind of reports. We've also had reports where they say most Nigerians are below middle class, up to maybe 80%. We have reports that are similar to this one. So I'd like to ask, what exactly is it about our government or policy inconsistency or weak institution that is even making these people think of writing up reports like this about our country? What is it about? What is it that we are missing? What is it that we are lacking that is making these kind of reports? Because the other countries, they don't have these kinds of reports. So why Nigeria?
My take on this is that if one wants to say that our institutions are apparently weak, but we have strong individuals, I'll say yes. And that is a balance we are battling with, strengthening the institutions so that they can stand on their own. So that if you say that, so the institution becomes moderator of behavior of the individuals, not the individuals moderating what happens in the institutions. These are two extremes. Let me tell you, in many places, many advanced countries, if you bring a very strong president, the institution will moderate his behavior, what he does or what he stops from doing. And for himself, he also understands his limitations. But in our country, as a developing country, the institutions are still at the developmental stage. That's all I say about that. And once they get stronger than it ought to be, 50% will fit in. But this negative assumption about us is not true. Let me ask you, will you compare a war-torn area to what we have in Nigeria? In Ukraine, we are discussing as we are talking about Ukraine now. Ukraine is said to have lost 164,000 persons, between 164,000 to 240,000 persons. This is BBC's report, where people are dying on a daily basis. And your question is, what is our population? Ukraine, with that level of population, Ukraine population is nothing to be compared to that of Nigeria. Ukraine population is about 39 million. And think of the number that's dying. And that is what we want to compare Nigeria to. I mean, it's not fair. The World Bank themselves understands that statement is deliberately made to put us on toes. I think they're saying, wake up, Nigeria, wake up, Nigeria, wake up. That might be the intent. Not that it's a reality. That's a reality. No.
Okay. I think this is a bit dicey, but I really want to understand what is the implication of this, low lifespan. Are you saying that the United Nations is wrong, or are you saying that some of the statistics from some institutions that they are wrong? Because I believe that Ukraine is 20%, higher than Nigeria. Ukraine has 76.6 years lifespan, while Nigeria has 56.6 years lifespan, even male, female. Do you understand my point? What is the implication?
I do. There's something we call armchair research. Armchair research is said to be subjective.
Okay.
Just like some what you find in some places where students will concord results until they have done the research. Meanwhile, the thing was manufactured at one side of the room, and they bring to the table as a data. The foundation of the statistics is wrong.
Okay.
Very, very. And they know it. Can they tell us the source of the data? It's just garbage in, garbage out. When they feed the wrong data to the system, it brings you a wrong result. In terms of comparing with this lifespan in Nigeria, I'm not saying there's no hardship in the land. I'm not saying that there are no challenges. There are. But if you have to stay outside this place, you know that living in Nigeria is a luxury.
Mm.
In terms of the freedom, in terms of move around, in terms of being able to move on and do the restrictions in Nigeria is less. And any person who tells you that we suffer here, but on that person, it's not limited. Just take a chance and travel out. Travel out and feel very free. Those people, those are colleagues outside. By the time they come back here, many of them come back with nothing. The money they have in their hands only means something when they bring it back here because of the exchange rate. But there, they don't live better life to us. They are on their toes, morning, night, all over their life they're working. The pleasure you have here, move around, socialize, do this, do that, no person have that kind of pleasure outside here. The life here is smooth. In fact, living in Nigeria is cheaper than living outside. That's the truth of the matter. Even if someone understands that.
Yes. Yes. Now, while you were speaking earlier, you mentioned how Nigeria is still at the developmental stage. And I just wonder, we've been at the developmental stage for a long time. We've been a developing country for the longest time.
Yes.
And I'm starting to wonder, at what point will we get to developed country where we will not be having these kinds of statistics. We won't be called a third world country and things like that. Because I feel like there are also factors that lead to these things. So at what point?
Somebody who appears to be a competitor, what would you call you? We will give you the best of the names. They're merely pulling our legs. I say without bias and without fear of contradiction in any way. We are developing. And there is no country in the world that is not developing. If you stop developing, you start going down. There is no country in the world that is not developing in one form or the other. When they say we are better than us, they say underdeveloped. Because there's a clear difference between when you say the country is underdeveloped and the country is developing. For us, I'm comfortable with the word developing. Well, when we talk of development, we're talking about holistic advancement in line with modernity. I agree. holistic. That's all of us are moving.
Yeah, but if
We're not
all
stunted.
of us are moving, just like you said, there is no country that is not developing. But at the same time, our own developing is more of, you know, when they say we're
Stunted.
Yes,
exactly,
stunted.
exactly.
I don't want to say in any manner that we are developed, that do not have need for advancement. No, I won't say so. But what I'm talking of is the gradual movement to modernity, gradual movement to the expected end. We are moving to that direction. And if you cleverly look at the state of government and there, like people will always tell you that the educational system is rubbish, we are certificate driven, we are not doing this, and I get them. I'm just asking them, in your village, 50 years ago, how many secondary school had you? How many primary school had you? 30 years back, how many of you were able to operate computers? When did they come into acceptability, even in the outside world? And how many graduates had we? How many of them? Some of the things we do now are things that were never done before. And we drive more better cars than those people outside the world. But the point is that we should cease from being consumption driven and talk of investment focus and be more holistic in an approach to issues. It is right to say that those at the top are very, very much on the top. Those low are very, very more low. That the middle class appears to be disappearing. I think that's that's what it is. But even at that state, even the poor and the rich have their challenges. But you can take it on for free that we are not as bad as the world wants to paint us. They want to deal with our psyche so that we think we are not there. The best of medical doctors over the world are Nigerians. The best of the engineers are Nigerians. The best of IT-driven personnel are Nigerians. They want to recognize that. And in the analysis, what we call the informal sector, the non-inclusion of the activities of the informal sector and earnings of our personalities outside there are not brought to bear with assessment, so well as the argument. They choose the data that pleases them, that is enough to do their bidding, so as to put us on the toes, make us uncomfortable, make the world to look down on us. It's not true. Even those who have propagated that, they also know that they're playing a game of rubbishing us. And of course, they don't even believe in what they're saying. It's not true. It can never be either.
Okay. All right. We know that poverty, low healthcare services and systems, war and other attributes are the ones that is causing this, life expectancy, lifespan issue that is coming from, various international organizations pointing fingers at Nigerians. What do you think Nigeria should do differently for these people to, stop pointing fingers, even in the area of health, poverty, insecurity?
I know what the real problems are. The real problems has to do with the killings in Nigeria, the death rate. If you carefully want to look at records, within the first quarter of this year, Nigerians that were killed were 2,000, those of the records were 2,266, higher than the whole number that was killed by bandits the whole of last year. So within the first quarter of this year, we lost more persons to banditry than we lost the whole of last year. Within August, for instance, the record has it that Nigerians lost 606 persons were killed in Nigeria. I'm talking about those on record, not those that are not covered by records. Those are bad domain. This is a bad domain. All right? So I think what we need to do is to begin to look at the fundamentals. Talk about security, talk about food. Those things we call basic psychological needs in Nigeria needs to be addressed.
Health too.
Health, of course. If you begin to talk about psychological, we'll talk about hermetic care, we'll talk about food, we'll talk about shelter. And let our men in authorities stop emphasizing and pumping big money at the top. Let them pump the money at the grassroots. That's where it will make meaning. So much money. In fact, let me tell you, over 80% of our national resources is spent on about, not really 20%, it's on about 10% of the population.
All right.
About 90% of money we have in this country is spent by 10% of the
All right,
Okay.
Professor Emmanuel, thank you so much. We'll have to end it here for
Yeah.
now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because
Thank
of time, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
We had a whole lot of take-out from this conversation, so but we'll have to end it right here, and we will be bringing up to you Political Circle with Luke Mbo.
Thank you.
We are local.
International communities observing every
Just finished the game.
When the meat market is in chaos, people are
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
We have taken the food by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.